The cost of always being nice. Let's be real for a moment. We've all been taught that being nice is the key to success, happiness, and good relationships. From childhood, we've heard it over and over: be nice to others, don't rock the boat, don't cause trouble. And we carry that with us into adulthood, always trying to be the one who's liked, the one who keeps the peace, the one who never says no. But here's the problem with that: niceness comes with a cost. And it's a cost we often don't realize we're paying until it's too late. The first cost is your happiness. You've probably experienced that sinking feeling when you've agreed to something you didn't really want to do, just because you didn't want to disappoint someone. Maybe it was a favor you didn't have time for, or a commitment you didn't really care about. In the moment, you told yourself it's just one more thing, but deep down, you knew it was draining you. Little by little, you're giving away pieces of yourself, and your own happiness takes a back seat to keeping others comfortable. Over time, this constant pattern wears you down, and you start to forget what truly makes you happy. The second cost is your peace of mind. When you're always trying to please others, when you're constantly worried about what people think of you, it creates an internal chaos. You can't relax. You're always on edge, wondering if you said the wrong thing, or if someone is upset with you. This constant state of tension chips away at your mental health, leaving you exhausted, anxious, and overwhelmed. But here's the thing: that anxiety doesn't come from who you are or from the situations you're in. It comes from trying to manage and maintain a version of yourself that doesn't always align with your true self. The third cost is your time. Time is the one thing we can never get back. Yet, when you're always nice, you're often giving away your time to people, projects, or commitments that don't truly serve you. You say yes to things you don't really care about because you don't want to disappoint someone or feel guilty. You end up spending your days running around for everyone else while your own dreams, goals, and passions sit on the back burner. The cost of always being nice is that you give up your time, and once that time is gone, it's gone forever. The fourth cost is your personal growth. Growth happens when you step outside your comfort zone, when you challenge yourself, and when you make difficult choices that are true to your values. But being nice keeps you trapped in the familiar, the safe, the predictable. You become so concerned with keeping everyone happy that you never take the risks you need to take to push yourself forward. You play small, you avoid confrontation, and you avoid the uncomfortable truth that sometimes growth requires saying no to others in order to say yes to yourself. But in avoiding the discomfort of growth, you miss out on the breakthroughs that could propel you toward the person you're meant to become. The fifth cost is your self-worth. There's a fine line between being a kind, compassionate person and being someone who is only valuable because of what they do for others. When you're always nice, you begin to base your self-worth on other people's opinions of you. You start to believe that your value is tied to your ability to meet others' expectations and make them happy. The problem is, this leaves you vulnerable to rejection, manipulation, and exhaustion if people are only responding to the nice version of you, the one that never stands up for herself, the one that is always available, the one that never speaks her truth. Then they're not really valuing you. They're valuing your ability to be agreeable. And that's not a sustainable foundation for any relationship. True self-worth comes from knowing who you are, regardless of whether you're always nice or not. The sixth cost is your relationships. It might sound counterintuitive, but always being nice doesn't actually foster healthy relationships. In fact, it often does the opposite. When you're constantly trying to keep the peace and avoid conflict, you suppress the things that need to be said. You avoid difficult conversations, and you avoid addressing issues that, if left unchecked, can fester and damage the relationship in the long run. You can't build strong, honest connections when you're more concerned with being liked than with being real. Real relationships require vulnerability, honesty, and sometimes conflict. But being too nice keeps you from engaging in those necessary, sometimes uncomfortable, but ultimately growth-filled conversations. And here's the real kicker: the people around you don't even expect you to be nice all the time. They may say they want someone who's always agreeable, but deep down they want someone who can stand up for themselves, someone who can be real, and someone who's not afraid to challenge them when needed. Niceness is often a cover-up for fear: fear of rejection, fear of confrontation, fear of being misunderstood. But when you start to shed that fear and embrace your truth, you'll find that people respect you even more, not because you're always nice, but because you're being honest, authentic, and courageous. The truth is, being nice is an emotional currency that you trade away every day, thinking it's going to buy you acceptance and peace. But in reality, it's costing you everything: your happiness, your peace, your time, your growth, your worth, In your relationships, that real power lies in authenticity, not niceness. Let me ask you something. How many times have you hidden parts of who you are just to fit in, just to avoid upsetting someone? How many times have you smiled through pain or agreed to something you knew wasn't right, all because you didn't want to be the one who caused a stir? We've all been there. We've all been taught to be nice, to be agreeable, to put others' needs above our own. And yes, there's value in kindness, but there's also a trap in it. The trap is that niceness, while often perceived as a virtue, can strip you of your authenticity. Niceness becomes a mask you wear to hide your true feelings, your true thoughts, and your true desires. And over time, you forget what it even feels like to be real. You get so caught up in making others comfortable that you lose touch with the most important thing of all yourself. The truth is, real power doesn't come from constantly pleasing others. It doesn't come from saying what you think people want to hear. Real power is found in your authenticity and having the courage to speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Real power is about standing in your truth, even when it feels like the world is pressuring you to shrink. It's about having the strength to show up as your most genuine self, unapologetically. When you're authentic, you're no longer driven by the need to be liked or accepted. Instead, you're driven by a deeper understanding of who you are and what you stand for. And when you tap into that authenticity, you create a force within you that's unstoppable. You stop watering yourself down for the approval of others. You stop pretending to be something you're not just to fit into a mold that isn't even yours. You stop making choices based on what's popular or what's comfortable, and you start making choices based on what aligns with your truth, your values, and your purpose. Here's the thing, authenticity is magnetic. People are drawn to it. They may not always agree with it. They may not always like it, but they respect it. There's a power in being real, in being the person who isn't afraid to say what's hard to hear. Being authentic isn't about being liked by everyone, it's about being true to yourself, and that kind of power demands respect. Niceness, on the other hand, often comes from a place of fear of rejection, fear of confrontation, fear of conflict. It's about saying what others want to hear, even if it means you betray yourself in the process. Niceness is the voice that tells you to suppress your feelings so that you don't upset anyone, to avoid standing up for what you believe in, just to keep things smooth. But here's the problem, and when you're constantly trying to appease everyone around you, you lose yourself in the process. And without a strong sense of who you are, you lose the very foundation that true power is built on. True power comes from knowing your worth and owning it, even when others don't get it, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it causes a little tension. Authenticity demands that you stop hiding behind the mask of niceness and face the world as the person you were always meant to be. It's not about being rude or insensitive. It's about being honest, being real, and owning your voice. Authenticity is also about making decisions that reflect who you are, not who others want you to be. It's about setting boundaries that protect your peace and your energy. It's about saying no to things that no longer serve you, even if those things come from people you care about. You can't serve others from an empty cup, and you can't lead or love authentically if you're always saying yes to things that drain you. Being authentic means putting your own needs and values first without guilt. It means recognizing that your time, energy, and peace of mind are precious, and that they deserve the same respect as anyone else's. Being authentic also means accepting your flaws and imperfections. It's about embracing your full, imperfect self. We all have weaknesses. We all have things we wish were different about us. But authenticity is about saying, I'm okay with who I am right now, flaws and all. It's not about trying to be perfect or pretending to have it all together. It's about showing up as you are, unapologetically, and knowing that you are enough just as you are. When you're authentic, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living example of what it means to be true to yourself. When you stop being nice and start being real, you create space for others to stop pretending too. Authenticity is contagious. It empowers those around you to shed their own masks, to be bold, to take risks, and to live their truth. And yes, there will be people who don't like your authenticity. Some might be uncomfortable with it. Some might even try to tear you down. But here's the thing, that's not your problem. That's their issue, not yours. When you stand in your truth, you don't need validation from others. The only approval you need is your own. When you stop being nice and start being authentic, you step into your power and you make it clear to the world that you will no longer apologize for who you are. You stop dimming your light to make others feel comfortable. You stand tall, unapologetic, and proud of the person you become. Authenticity doesn't mean being perfect. It means being honest with yourself and with the world. When you embrace your truth, you unlock the real power that resides within you. Niceness is a barrier to success. Let's take a hard look at something we've all been conditioned to believe, that being nice will get us ahead in life. We're told that if we're polite, agreeable, and accommodating, we'll be liked, respected, and successful. But here's the painful truth: niceness can be the very thing that holds you back. In fact, it often stands in the way of your success, growth, and personal achievement. Niceness at its core is about avoiding conflict. It's about keeping the peace, keeping things smooth, and keeping everyone happy. But life isn't about avoiding conflict. Success isn't about always saying yes or trying to make everyone comfortable. Success requires boldness, decisiveness, and the courage to make choices that may upset others. The people who get ahead in life are the ones who are willing to make waves, challenge the status quo, and go against the grain. And you can't do that if you're constantly trying to please everyone. When you're focused on niceness, you end up saying yes to things you don't really want to do just to avoid confrontation. You say yes to responsibilities that aren't aligned with your goals, your purpose, or your passions, just because you don't want to let someone down. Every time you say yes when you should have said no, you sacrifice your time, your energy, and your focus. You give away pieces of yourself to others at the expense of your own dreams and aspirations. The cost, your success? Success requires you to be intentional with your time, to make deliberate decisions that move you forward, even if it means disappointing someone along the way. But when you're always nice, you're too busy trying to be everything to everyone. You're too busy managing everyone else's expectations instead of focusing on your own. The most successful people are those who know when to say no, who are able to set boundaries, and who prioritize their own needs and ambitions over pleasing others. Niceness also keeps you trapped in a place of fear. When you're overly focused on being nice, you're afraid to stand out, afraid to rock the boat, and afraid of what others might think of you. You don't take risks because you're worried about the backlash or the discomfort that might come with it. But here's the thing: success requires risk. It requires the courage to step into the unknown, to make bold choices that might not always be popular, and to face potential failure head on. If you're too focused on making sure everyone likes you, you'll never have the courage to take those risks. You'll be paralyzed by the fear of disappointing someone. And as a result, you'll miss out on opportunities that could propel you towards success. Niceness also creates a pattern of self-neglect. You become so concerned with meeting the needs of others that you forget about your own. Your goals, your aspirations, your well-being, they all take a back seat to making sure others are happy. You're constantly putting yourself last. But success requires self-care and self-advocacy. It requires you to take ownership of your life and your goals, to protect your time and energy, and to put your own needs first when necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly giving to others at the expense of yourself, you'll burn out long before you reach your full potential. And here's a deeper truth: niceness can also make you invisible. When you're constantly nice, you're often blending into the background. You're not standing out. You're not taking up space. You're not asserting yourself. But success requires you to be seen, to raise your hand and claim your space in the world. It requires you to put yourself forward, to be unapologetic about your worth and your ambitions. Being nice keeps you in the shadows, where you're just another face in the crowd. But to truly succeed, you have to step into the spotlight, even if it makes others uncomfortable. You have to be willing to be bold, to speak up, and to claim your place at the table. Niceness also often means avoiding difficult conversations, the very conversations that can lead to growth. When you're too concerned about being liked, you avoid confrontation, even when it's necessary. You avoid having the tough discussions with your boss, your colleagues, or your friends because you don't want to upset them. But here's the reality: those tough conversations are often the key to moving forward. Whether it's addressing a problem at work, clarifying an expectation, or setting a boundary in a relationship, confrontation leads to clarity. It clears the air and opens the door to progress. But niceness keeps you stuck, avoiding what needs to be said and preventing you from moving to the next level. Niceness also fosters a sense of complacency. When you're always focused on keeping others happy, you stop challenging yourself. You stop striving for more. You become comfortable in mediocrity because you're too concerned with being agreeable. But success demands discomfort. It demands that you push yourself beyond what's easy, that you confront your own limitations and break through them. Being nice can make you complacent, preventing you from reaching for the stars because you're too busy trying to keep everything smooth and easy. But if you want to succeed, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. You have to be willing to push past the fear of what others think and step into the discomfort of growth. Niceness also leads to resentment. The more you try to please others, the more you feel like you're losing yourself in the process. Eventually, that niceness turns into frustration. You start to resent the people who are constantly demanding more from you, and you begin to feel like you're giving more than you're receiving. That sense of imbalance creates a toxic energy, and you'll start to feel bitter about the very people you've been trying so hard to please. That bitterness eats away at your motivation, your passion, and your drive. When you are no longer aligned with your own needs, you're left with a sense of emptiness and disillusionment that prevents you from achieving true success. We've all been taught that saying yes is the key to being a good person. Saying yes means you're agreeable, helpful, and someone others can rely on. Saying yes is a way of showing you care, of showing that you're there for others, and of being generous with your time and energy. But what if I told you that saying no is just as powerful, if not more so, than saying yes? What if I told you that saying no could be the very thing that allows you to grow, to protect your peace, and to build a life that aligns with your true desires? The truth is, we've been conditioned to think that saying yes is the only way to be loved, accepted, or valued. We fear that if we say no, we'll disappoint others, cause conflict, or risk losing relationships. And while it's important to be kind and generous, the reality is that saying yes all the time comes at a very high price, a price that often involves neglecting your own needs, desires, and well-being. When you say yes to others too often, you say no to yourself, to your dreams, and to the boundaries that protect your peace and your energy. The first power of saying no is the power to set boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are fences that protect what matters most to you, your time, your energy, your emotions, and your focus. When you say no, you are making a conscious decision to protect those things. You are asserting that your time and energy are valuable and that they can't be given away without consideration. Boundaries allow you to create space for the things that matter most in your life, and they help you focus on the pursuits, relationships, and goals that truly align with who you are and where you want to go. Without boundaries, you can't grow because you're too busy spreading yourself thin, trying to please everyone else. The second power of saying no is that it enables you to prioritize your own needs. Too often we say yes because we feel guilty or fear the consequences of disappointing others. But what happens when you're always saying yes? You end up ignoring your own needs and desires, constantly putting others first at the expense of your own well-being. You become burned out, drained, and resentful. The power of saying no is that it forces you to recognize and honor your own needs. When you say no, you are making a choice to take care of yourself first. You're choosing to protect your mental, emotional, and physical health, which in turn allows you to show up as your best self for the people and projects that truly deserve your attention. Saying no also gives you the power to choose your focus. Life is full of distractions, people, commitments, obligations, and opportunities that all demand your time and energy. But not everything is worth your attention. Not every request is something you need to take on. Every time you say yes to something that isn't aligned with your goals or your values, you're diverting your focus away from what truly matters to you. Saying no is an act of choosing your focus. It's about recognizing that you can't do everything and that not every opportunity is the right one for you. It's about understanding that your time and energy are finite resources and they must be invested in the things that align with your purpose, your vision, and your values. The power of saying no also lies in your ability to say yes to the right things. It's easy to get caught up in the endless cycle of obligations, requests, and distractions that come your way. But when you say no, you free yourself from the things that don't serve you, giving yourself the opportunity to say yes to the things that do. Saying no is about creating space for the opportunities, relationships, and projects that align with your goals. It's about saying yes to the things that truly matter and moving away from things that distract or drain you. Without the power to say no, you end up saying yes to everything. And in doing so, you dilute your energy and focus. But when you say no to the wrong things, you make room for the right ones. Saying no also strengthens your self-respect. The more you say yes when you don't want to, the more you erode your own self-worth. You're teaching yourself that other people's needs and desires are more important than your own. You're sending the message that your time, your peace, and your happiness don't matter as much as the demands of others. But when you say no, you're reinforcing the idea that your needs and boundaries are just as important as anyone else's. Saying no teaches you to honor your own worth, and it signals to others that you respect yourself enough to set limits. When you say no, you're saying, I deserve to prioritize myself. I deserve to take care of my own needs. I deserve to protect my peace. And when you start doing that, others will start respecting you more as well. Another power of saying no is its ability to build confidence. Every time you say no, you are affirming your ability to make decisions that are in your best interests. You're asserting your autonomy and your control over your own life. Saying no, especially when it's hard, builds confidence in your ability to trust yourself. You begin to trust your instincts, trust your boundaries, and trust that you are capable of making choices that serve your greater good. The more you say no, the more you realize that you have the power to choose your own path, to protect your time, and to design a life that reflects who you truly are. Confidence isn't built by pleasing everyone, it's built by standing firm in your own decisions, even when they aren't popular. Saying no also protects your peace of mind. When you say yes to everything, you open the door to stress, overwhelm, and burnout. You're constantly juggling tasks, responsibilities, and obligations that you didn't sign up for, and it becomes harder and harder to stay centered. Saying no creates space for calm, for focus, and for rest. It allows you to preserve your emotional energy so that you're not constantly reacting to the demands of others. The power of saying no is that it keeps your inner peace intact so you can handle life's challenges with clarity, grace, and a sense of control. Lastly, saying no creates respect and clarity in your relationships. When you say yes to everything, people start to take your time for granted. They begin to assume that you'll always be available, that you'll always drop what you're doing to meet their needs. This creates an imbalance in your relationships where you're the one always giving and they're the ones always taking. But when you say no, you communicate that your time is valuable and that you deserve the same respect and consideration as everyone else. It fosters relationships based on mutual respect, where both parties honor each other's boundaries and time. Saying no doesn't create conflict, it creates clear expectations and mutual understanding. Saying no is not just a rejection, it's an affirmation. It's a declaration of your worth, your time, and your boundaries. It's the key to living a life that is aligned with your true values, goals, and desires. When you master the power of saying no, you unlock a new level of self-respect, focus, and freedom. Niceness does not equal kindness. There's a difference between being nice and being kind, and it's one that we need to understand if we're going to live authentic, meaningful lives. For far too long, we've confused niceness with kindness, assuming that the two are the same. Niceness is about appearance, it's about how you're perceived by others. Kindness, on the other hand, is about intent. It's about the deeper, more genuine desire to help, to care, and to serve. And while niceness often looks good on the outside, it doesn't always lead to meaningful or authentic connections. In fact, niceness can often be a barrier to real kindness. Niceness is about making others comfortable, avoiding conflict, and keeping things smooth. It's about saying the things people want to hear, agreeing with others to avoid discomfort, and putting on a facade that doesn't rock the boat. Niceness is transactional. It's about keeping things pleasant, even if that means suppressing your own needs or feelings. When you're being nice, your main concern is whether others will approve of you. Niceness often comes from a place of fear of being rejected, fear of being disliked, fear of standing out. It's about trying to fit in, to meet expectations, and to avoid confrontation. But the problem with niceness is that it can mask your true self, making it difficult to form real, honest, and meaningful relationships. Niceness can make you invisible because you're always so busy being who others want you to be, rather than showing up as the person you truly are. On the other hand, kindness isn't about pleasing others. It's about being authentic and acting with integrity, even when it's uncomfortable. Kindness comes from a place of selflessness and understanding. It doesn't aim to appease, but to genuinely help, whether it's through listening to someone, offering support when they need it, or speaking the truth, even when that truth might be difficult to hear. Kindness is not about making others feel good at the expense of your own well-being. It's about seeing beyond the surface and offering care that truly helps, even if that help is not immediately appreciated or understood. Niceness may prompt you to say yes when you really mean no, just to avoid confrontation or to be liked. It might lead you to agree with an idea you don't fully support or participate in something you're not comfortable with, just to keep the peace. But kindness is about honesty. It's about saying no when you need to, even if it's uncomfortable, because you know that doing so is ultimately more respectful to both yourself and the other person. Kindness isn't about avoiding tough conversations. It's about being willing to have them with care, with love, and with respect. Kindness may mean telling someone the hard truth, not because it's easy, but because it's what will help them grow or what will keep them safe. It's not always about making people feel good in the moment, but about ensuring they're in a better place in the long run. Niceness also often involves a form of people-pleasing, where you're constantly trying to meet everyone else's expectations to the point of losing touch with your own values and needs. When you're caught in this cycle, you sacrifice your authenticity in exchange for external approval. The problem with people-pleasing is that it doesn't allow you to build genuine self-worth. You're seeking validation from others, and when you're not authentic in your actions, you're left with a sense of emptiness, even if everyone around you thinks you're wonderful. Niceness seeks external approval, while kindness comes from a deep internal sense of empathy and compassion. Kindness doesn't need validation. It's driven by a sense of purpose and a desire to genuinely serve others. At times, niceness can also be passive. You might say yes or agree to things you don't want to do simply to avoid conflict, to keep the peace, or to make someone like you. But real kindness often requires action that challenges the status quo, that stands up for what's right, even when it's not popular. Kindness can involve standing up for someone who is being treated unfairly, speaking out against injustice, or taking the harder path to do what's best for everyone involved, not just the one who's demanding it. Kindness is courageous. It is a form of strength that comes from a place of genuine care, not from a desire to please. Moreover, niceness can encourage complacency. If you're too focused on being nice, you're less likely to push yourself or others to grow. You avoid uncomfortable situations, and by doing so, you limit your potential and the potential of those around you. Kindness, however, challenges you and others to evolve, to break through limitations, and to become better versions of yourselves. It's about encouraging growth, whether it's through support, guidance, or honest feedback. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is help someone realize their potential, even if it means pushing them out of their comfort zone. Niceness rarely challenges, it tends to maintain the status quo. And kindness, though, is a force for positive change. Another distinction between niceness and kindness is that niceness can sometimes be manipulative. You might find yourself being nice to get something in return, whether that's approval, recognition, or favor. Niceness can sometimes be a means to an end, where the goal is to maintain a certain image or gain something from others. In contrast, kindness is selfless. It has no hidden agenda. Kindness is about giving without expecting anything in return, about offering a hand to someone because you genuinely care about their well-being, not because you want something from them. True kindness doesn't seek to manipulate or control the outcome. It simply gives freely and without strings attached. Niceness is often surface level, a form of politeness or decorum that aims to maintain harmony on the outside. But kindness is deep, it's rooted in love, compassion, and understanding. It's not concerned with superficial pleasantries, but with the authentic well-being of others. Kindness leads to deeper connections because it's based on honesty, empathy, and a genuine desire to help, not just to be liked. Niceness may help you get along in the short term, but kindness creates lasting, meaningful relationships. When you're nice, people might like you, but they don't always respect you because they sense that niceness comes from a place of fear or insecurity. But when you are kind, when you are genuine, honest, and compassionate, people not only respect you, they trust you. Kindness builds strong, authentic bonds because it's about the heart, not the image. Kindness creates connections based on mutual respect, honesty, and care rather than superficial approval. Finally, niceness can sometimes mask unspoken resentment. You may agree to things you don't want to do, act in ways that are contrary to your true feelings, and suppress your own needs to avoid rocking the boat. Over time, that kind of behavior builds up, leading to frustration, burnout, and even anger. When niceness is driven by a desire to avoid discomfort at all costs, it can create an undercurrent of dishonesty and resentment. Kindness, on the other hand, creates an atmosphere of openness and transparency. It's not about pretending everything is okay when it's not. It's about facing difficult situations with courage, honesty, and a desire to make things right. Kindness fosters real communication, where feelings are expressed honestly and conflicts are addressed with understanding.